Welcome, 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 everyone. Good morning out there, movie fans. Good morning out there, Marvel series TV fans. Good morning, Falcon fans. Good morning, Patriots fans. Good morning, Saints fans and Philly fans. I'm saying that just because, that's Jordan's people are the Saints and Philadelphia fans. He wore the. Well, you know what? Let me not get in the way. First off, I'm your host, T. Will. This is my guy, Jordan Burden. Jordan, how are you this morning?
I'm doing great. How you doing?
Awesome. Please tell us why you wore the well, first off, we're doing Wonder Man and we're doing Iron Man 3.
Hmm.
So I'm guessing one of those is why you wore the Patriots jersey. Go ahead and tell
Yes.
us why you wore it.
So in Iron Man 3, there's actually another reference to another sports team in Iron Man 3, but I didn't have a jersey for them. But
What?
I mean, Iron Patriot, I believe it was a baseball team, and I only have three teams baseball jerseys. Um,
Mm,
and I figured, all right, well, this is the introduction and closing
Poser.
of Iron Patriot
Right, right.
in the MCU. So we get Iron Patriot. I figured I'll wear a Patriots jersey.
Makes
And it's an Iron Man film, and I mean, I think we can all agree like Tom Brady was an Iron Man just for his ability to play 20 something 20 plus seasons. So I was like, all right, let's just wear a Tom Brady Patriots jersey.
Makes sense. We shall not bring up 2016. We shall not bring up 2016.
We
So,
can if you want.
no, we won't. We will not. That is a very saintly thing you just did. Just want you to know. Pun intended. All right, so we're talking about Wonder Man this morning, Jordan. You and I just watched this series, and I tell you what, I thought that it would be more action. I
Hmm.
thought that it would be more agenda driven, driving towards doomsday or driving towards something. And not that it was, but it felt like it was a siloed journey just for Wonder Man. And the emphasis is really on his acting career and the process that he goes about in trying to become an actor. And also, in this universe, you cannot be an actor if you are an enhanced or superpowered being, right? They go to great lengths to explain this in the Doorman episode, which we'll get to later. Um, so he's got a secret, right? On the one hand, and I think he is a decent actor. Very concerned about his career, just in the yearling stages of it, and trying to get going. And he's got this horrible secret. It's like if you played football. I'm not going to say for the Eagles, but let's say you played for the Falcons, and you're an enhanced individual, right? And you don't want anybody to know that you're an enhanced individual because that probably would be frowned upon. But you've got this secret, right? You heal faster than everybody. You don't get any broken bones. You have super speed and super strength, and you have to kind of dumb it down to play to make it look real. That's kind of the thought process that I took to this because he has to be on edge at every moment. When he gets upset, he gives off this vibration, tectonic shift kind of energy that forces things to shift, move, and sometimes explode. And so he has to remain calm at all times, right? Um, give me your initial thoughts on it.
I mean, what I find, I mean, even to this very moment, I wonder, I question, I wonder, his power set, like, because all right, I want to give backstory on Wonder Man and like my knowledge of him. I don't have very much. All I know in the comics is that he he at one point married the Scarlet Witch.
He did.
That's really it. I mean, I've seen his costume a bunch, and I otherwise I don't have much experience with this character. So I went into this very refreshed and very like I wanted to learn more.
Right.
And after the series, I'm like I don't really know his power set all that much. They tried to explain it about his ability to like change to like move atoms and stuff like that at as the show's closing when the Department of Damage Control is like explaining his powers and stuff like that. But even then, It's there's so many questions I have with his powers and like what all he exactly can do, and clearly he does too because he didn't know he could fly until the final episode. Um, so this was so refreshing, this show. Just it felt like, there wasn't much connected to anything. Um, if we didn't have any sort of Marvel content and they threw this show out there, and in my opinion switched the Department of Damage Control's name to like just the FBI or CIA, something like that, this would be such an interesting show to watch and a very refreshing show, just generally speaking, to watch. In my opinion, I felt so grounded, like watching the show. I felt like I was watching something new, and really, your only background knowledge you need going into this is Iron Man 3, which just so happen to be what we're reviewing later today.
Isn't that
So,
funny? Isn't that something?
yeah,
Yeah.
it's so interesting.
All
Even in the first
never.
episode, like if we weren't watching Iron Man 3, there's a lot of people that question why are we zooming in on um not Chinatown, the Chinese theater.
Right.
We're like, why are we zooming in on Chinese theater? But if you watch Iron Man 3, we know Chinese theater explodes.
Hmm.
And that's part of one of the
Episode.
big opening parts of the whole movie.
Yeah.
Um, so with this, I mean, outside of Trevor and the Department of Damage Control, you felt like you were just kind of thrown into a universe. If you told me that this takes place in a branch timeline, I'd be like, okay, like, all right, I see it. Like, it just felt so refreshing to watch this, and like with I'll look at like Miss Marvel for example because the Department of Damage Control is also in that. You see so many connections with all the Marvel characters and stuff, with especially Captain Marvel and her influence on Miss Marvel in that show. But there's no influence in this. We're following a guy who is an actor. He's trying to make a living in his
He
life.
is a thespian, sir, because he takes his craft very seriously.
Yes, very, and I love that. I like I he and at first we're like, all right, this guy might be a little annoying when we're hearing him try to like change the scene of an American Horror Story
You know who I thought
episode.
about? You know who I thought about? I
Yeah.
know you know. You tell me. Who
I
does
don't know.
that? Former Hulk.
Oh yeah, Edward Norton.
Ed Norton.
Yeah,
That is
I didn't even
spot
think
on.
about that.
That is
Yes.
spot on who I because when we get into the first scene, right? He's and the funny thing about it is his corrections are good, right? Like he's like,
Hmm.
I don't think he would do that in this scene. Like they recently, whatever, whatever. I don't think he would let her come up, and he's talking about an interaction that he's having with the character. I think he's on American Horror Story, and the
Hmm.
character he's interacting with is going to turn into a monster and bite his head off.
Hmm.
And he goes into such detail, and ends up convincing the director to change the scene and change the lighting, so to speak. Um, and then it gets into other suggestions, and pretty soon they're like, "We're not going to finish this, right?" Now, if you are an A-list actor, you might get your way like that, but this guy isn't known. Nobody
Yeah.
knows him. So you know what they do? They call up his agent, and they're like, and call up, I guess, a producer of the show, or a director, somebody, and they're like, "Hey, yeah, he's got to go," right? But I tell you what's interesting about this moment. Um, it establishes Simon as talented, but essentially invisible in Hollywood. Like nobody knows him, right? And he calls his agent, and she is agitated because apparently he has a history of doing this. But I think he's so intertwined with the character that his process is to really work it out. Okay, what would the character do in this scene? And he's not afraid to speak up to directors and say, I don't think he would do this, right? Um, but
And what's so interesting, like I I appreciate his there was a line I drew. that I drew in that whole scene. It's like, all right, you want to make sure that you're into character. So you talk to them, the directors and stuff,
Right.
about like backstories with characters. That way you feel more of the into the scene.
Right.
But there was a point where he's like, okay, now not only is he suggesting things that for backstory, but then he's trying to make that backstory change the script itself and the
Right.
scene itself.
Right.
That was where I had an issue, and I'm like, all right, dude, they're just trying to film this scene in a
Right.
certain way. A Yeah, you're trying to build character, but now that you're building character, is trying to change the whole scene in itself, and that was too much.
Yeah.
Look, I appreciate when people try going above and beyond for their job and just building the backstory. There are actors and actresses in Hollywood that aren't willing to say like, well, what if it felt like there was like some backstory behind these two characters, like they've known each other for 10 years? What if instead of calling her Sarah, call her like Mrs. Smith?
Dr. Smith or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So like I appreciate that, the willingness, because there's not a lot of people that have the willingness to go and do that.
Right.
But you they're just trying to film a scene where
Yeah,
you're gonna get
you got to be
killed.
able to turn it off. You got to know when
Yes.
to turn that off. And I think this
Yes.
shows that he is young and green and doesn't
Hmm.
know how to use that. Like
Yeah.
you get the sense that as he gets into this 3, 4, 5 years later, he'll know when to turn it on and when to turn it off. But right
Yeah.
now he's green, so he just wants to rewrite everything. MCU importance introduces a superpowered character who is not chasing heroism, just survival. Let's talk about the first meeting with Trevor Slattery. Now, Trevor Slattery, who essentially played the Mandarin, America. This is
America.
the Mandarin. President is not listening to me, and I am going to blow up a Chinese theater. Yeah, anyway, I've been working on that. Okay, so um, I think Slattery is great. Is great in this. I think Simon Williams is great. I think I'm sorry. I think Trevor Slattery is great in this, um, because he's playing he's playing an actor who's trying to help out another actor, but really he has a gun to his head by the what's that agency again?
Department of Damage
The
Control.
Department of Damage Control, where basically he's going to go to jail if he doesn't give up the goods on Simon Williams. And there's a line that he vacillates between friend and betrayer, where he's like, okay, well, I need this and I need this. And in the beginning, it's more so he's talking to the Department of Damage Control, and he's like, well, you can't just give him this part. He's an actor. He'll see through that. It has to be organic, and you have to give him something he'd really like. And it's interesting at how they set it up to where Trevor just drops in the fact that, hey man, I'm up for the part of Wonderman, and he's like, what? And he's got to get in on the interview, but I just thought the dynamic between those two were great. Trevor's post Iron Man 3 arc finally becomes purposeful. And like I said, I think, to me, this movie for Trevor was about, excuse me, this series for Trevor was about redemption, right?
Oh yeah.
Because again, Simon isn't bothering anybody. He's just trying to be an actor. And that's a bit of a dick move, man. But through this purpose, and especially what he does at the end in the last episode, I loved it. I loved it. But give me your thoughts on that. Give me your thoughts on the first meeting. What are you thinking here?
So what I found this out yesterday actually, and it's interesting. We're not review. Well, yeah, we're reviewing a new series, so like new information's probably going to get shown from the
Yeah.
show a lot. Marvel was considering making a Trevor like series, and I want to be make this very clear. Trevor's character is an original character, is not in the comics.
Right.
Um, and yeah, the Mandarin is in the comics, but not Trevor's character. Um, and they were gonna make like a comedic series. And in my opinion, that is probably top three worst idea I've heard for a series that Disney has ever done for Marvel.
Hmm.
I don't know who would watch it. If, in my opinion, if they ended up doing that, I don't think we would even be reviewing it because it wouldn't make any sense. It makes totally no sense whatsoever. It would be like, I know we did Thor: The Dark World. It would be like making a series on Kat Dennings' character, Darcy. Like, what's the point?
Yeah.
There's no point at all. Uh, sh- they they had that idea,
Hmm.
and then Destin Daniel Cretton, who did Shang-Chi, he also did this show. He was a director,
Hmm.
and he's also going to be doing Spider-Man Brand New Day. Big year for him.
Big.
Because and I mean he was originally attached to, and his name is going to be on Doomsday because he was originally attached to Kang Dynasty, and he had some influence, so his name's also going to be attached to that. Big year for him. It's like he's basically in at the front helm of everything Marvel in 2026.
Hmm.
Um, and they were like, all right, well, why don't we combine the two and do a buddy movie and or a buddy series? And I'm like, that's interesting. Like that was their thought process. I don't when we get to Iron Man 3, I'll have a lot more opinions on Trevor, but I didn't care for his character. In fact, when he showed up in Shang-Chi, that's actually what from that point, there's a point in Shang-Chi where it's almost boring, and it actually starts when he shows up. And I want to make this very clear. Shang-Chi is one of my favorite origin stories in all of in in any of the reviews that we'll end up doing.
Hmm.
I love that movie. And when I heard that movie was getting released, I was really excited. Um, so I have high praise for that movie. But there is a part of it where it takes me out of the film, and it starts when Trevor shows up. Um, so I had this character like really low on my standards of characters. Like I never wanted to see the suit again. But this series, what like you said, it was redemption for
Hmm.
him in his character, and I was just like, now I care about this
Right.
character. They
Right.
made me care about a character that I hated, and especially when you get to the finale
Yeah.
and he does what he did, and I'm like, oh man, like now I really care about this dude.
Yeah.
They really did such a great job that like bravo to the writers team of being able to do that because that's I mean there were a lot of people when they heard Trevor was going to be in this, they were like, dude, we're tired of this guy. Well, like, why are you here? And there's people who are retweeting his casting post that he was going to be cast into this series, saying like, "Oh, this is such a like sarcastically saying, "Oh, this is a bad idea. I don't think they should do this." They're saying it sarcastically because he did such a great job.
Hmm.
And like hindsight's 2020. Like that was a bad decision what they did, but they nailed it.
They did.
So
They
bravo to
did.
Marvel.
They really did. And yeah, he's the perfect blend of comical, goofy, very insightful, very like I said, this was the perfect situation series for his character because we really get to see him kind of Obi-Wan Simon in the acting room,
Yep.
right? And just kind of, letting him know, and also a part of his character is, or part of his arc is him taking accountability, like when he goes to see the guy and he's like, you took my role. I can't believe you bring it up. And he was like, dude, you were showing up drunk every day. You were high every day. You were talking about parasites were coming out of you, da 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 da. And you can see the look on his face that he's forgot. He didn't even know this, right?
Hmm.
So it's like that's a big dose of reality for him. But anyway, in the first audition, we see Simon hold back his powers because when he gets antsy, like he almost has a little bit of PTSD from whatever went on with his childhood because I know there was a fire and there was some other instances in the fire he was trapped in a room, he received no damage. That's the kind of one thing I wish they would have filtered out more is how did he get his powers, because we really don't get an explanation on that. You know what I
I
mean?
think
Like
he's a mutant. I think
he,
he's a
he
mutant.
could be. He could be. But they don't really get into it, right? Because I
Mhm.
guess look, they're even though this is a superhero movie, excuse me, series, this is about Simon the actor. And the focus is on him as an actor and what he has to do to attain the role that he was meant to play, which is ironically Wonderman. And all of the machinations and everything that he goes through. But anyway, we see him suppress his power. This sets up the core tension, hiding who he is to succeed. The MCU theme passing as normal in a superhuman world. And the theme of the first episode, in my opinion, is identity versus opportunity. In a world obsessed with image, authenticity is the real risk. And he can't be authentic. Well, he can be, but only to a certain extent, right?
Yes.
So it's kind of like you're acting with one hand behind your back. Show them this, but don't
Hmm.
dare show them this, right? And I think he has a little PTSD. Anyway, this series is by Disney and Marvel Studios. As you said, Destin Daniel Cretton directed it. He was the showrunner. It is a part of Phase 5. It's a superhero satire slash Hollywood drama, I guess is the genre. Yahya Abdul-Mateen is Simon Williams in Wonderman. Ben Kingsley is Trevor Satterley, and Ed Harris is Neil Sorian. And Ben Kingsley played Meyer Lansky in the movie Bugsy, and he's always been one of my favorite characters. I love Ben. Have you ever seen the movie Bugsy?
I
Or,
haven't. I haven't. I don't think I've seen anything else this guy has ever been in
okay,
outside of Marvel.
so for me, I am a big fan of any movie about Ben Siegel, Charlie Luciano, Meyer Lansky, and one other dude I can never remember. But there's a movie that came out in 1992 with Warren Beatty, Annette Bening, and Ben Kingsley called Bugsy. And Bugsy was a first of all, Bugsy was a very or Ben Siegel, and these are actually characters that existed. These folks, I guess their claim to fame is Charlie Luciano was the first guy to go to the mafia and say, look, if my guy does something, now I gotta whack you, and then you gotta whack me. And by the old way of doing things, we all kill each other. Why do that? Why don't we get together as a committee, as a consortium, do it like businesses, as a corporation, and we get farther along? He's the person that's credited with bringing that to the mafia, and he really was an innovator. I'm talking about Charlie Luciano. Meyer Lansky and uh, Benny Siegel, Bugsy, were young Jewish kids growing up in, I want to say early, maybe just after World War One, pre-World War Two, but in the 20s and 30s. They were young Jewish kids on the street. They had to have each other's backs. This was the Depression, a lot going on, and they meet up with um, Charlie Luciano and his friend. I can never think of his name, but anyway, they formed their own group, and they go on to be successful. But anyway, in this movie, Ben Kingsley plays Meyer Lansky, and I love the way he played the character. Meyer Lansky is the best friend you'd ever want to have, but you know what I mean, but rarely do. So I love Ben Kingsley as an actor, and I'm glad that we get a chance to see him showcase this in this space, is what I was trying to say. Very awkwardly. Anyway.
I I actually have seen quite a few things that he's been in. I've seen Shutter Island.
Mhm.
I've seen The Dictator. I've seen Hugo. I've seen The Jungle Book. I've seen quite a few things. The Night at the Museum. I didn't realize how much I've seen
That
out
he's
of
been
him.
in. Yeah.
It's also he has hair also in this series, and he's mostly bald in
Right.
all his other roles.
Right.
So I saw him bald, and I'm like, oh wait, I've seen him in
Right.
other
In
things.
other movies, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wonder Man flips the MCU formula. This isn't about world-ending stakes, intergalactic wars, multiverse collapse. This is about Hollywood fame, identity, and again, just this guy's struggle to get to where he's trying to get to. But let's look at episode 2, Self Tape.
I will
Uh,
say, I do want to point out when this takes place in the timeline because I know we are because we jumped to a show that's out now. It's this. I've tried to do research on when this takes place,
hmm
and the belief is that this takes place in late 2027 or 2028. And now, from what I've seen, and I saw someone else post this, and I'm like, that makes total sense what they're saying. Um, the production for a movie can take a whole year. So we see the casting for Wonder Man
hmm
and the release of Wonder Man throughout this whole series,
Right.
the movie within the show, and so I think this starts in 2027 and then
Ends up
goes into
in
2028.
2028. Okay.
Which 2027, to put that in perspective, what else takes place in that year? Um, Daredevil Born Again season depends on how you look at it. Season 1 or 4 of Daredevil, um, it takes place New Year's Eve. That's the first episode, and then the rest of it's in 2027. So I have a 2027 tag on that series. Then right after that is Captain America: Brave New World, and then after that is Thunderbolts and the New Avengers, or some Thunderbolts slash the New Avengers, whatever you want to call that. And then Wonder Man is right after that. And another thing to look at, um, if this does in fact go into 2028, there is another Marvel movie that also takes place in 2028 that we will end up reviewing late, very late. It's going to be one of the last things we review. The New Mutants. So the New Mutants is, I don't care for the movie at all,
I
but
hated that
it takes.
movie. I absolutely hate it. I may have hated that worse than the Eternals, but maybe I'll
But
look at it differently when we go back and review it. But go ahead.
it
Sorry.
it does. Let me double check this, but it does. Yes, it's the New Mutants. So the New Mutants takes place in 2028, and Logan takes place in 2029.
Okay.
So, um, so we're catching up to like these X-Men timelines are now taking place parallel to the actual mainline MCU.
Okay.
So, which is going to be great for when Doomsday and Secret Wars happen, because then this if there is a reboot, it'll reboot everything.
Interesting. Ugh. Oh my, I hated that. Anyway, whatever. We'll hopefully by the time we get to it, I just I hated that movie. But anyway, uh, Self Tape is the title of episode 2. Why It Matters shows the absurd hoops actors jumps through. Key characters in this one are Simon and Trevor. Trevor shifts from comic relief to mentor. Trevor coaches Simon emotionally through this, and so many times in this series we see Simon coming up with the problem, and Trevor says, "Well, maybe you should think about it this way, or maybe you should approach it that way, or what do you think about it?" And he kind of leans into that role. Um, the subtext of this is redemption doesn't come from heroics; it comes from honesty, and that's true. Simon's powers react to anxiety. Why it matters, it confirms his abilities are emotionally linked. Foreshadowing emotional loss of control will become dangerous, and that's true, and that's true. When we see him get upset or it's almost like he has a form of PTSD, but his eyes glow red, and when his eyes glow red, look out. And he has to learn to a big piece of this series is him basically just learning to manage his powers, and holding it in and holding it in and holding it in. And it's very interesting because we find out in this series Simon's never had a friend. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine that? Like Simon has never had one friend. And the
Which makes me think. I was thinking this after with these new series, I tend to wonder like, oh, did this person get snapped or not? I think he was snapped.
That's a good point.
I
I didn't think
because
about that. That's a
because he
good
wouldn't
point.
have made because he wouldn't have, I mean, yeah, it's possible he got into acting a lot during that time, but also what movies were taking place during the snap? Nobody was recording. It would make no sense. So that means he would have been without a job. It makes sense where he's at, like financially speaking. So I think he was snapped away. That's my take.
That's interesting. You know what? I didn't think about that, but that's a good point.
I always
Uh
think about that with just any new character that we've gotten since post Endgame. I'm like, was this character snapped away? And what's great is like the Daredevil showrunners will openly like take those questions and be like, oh yeah, this person was snapped. Oh yeah, this person wasn't. Oh yeah, like Kingpin was snapped away. Punisher was snapped away. Daredevil. Daredevil was not, I believe, or Daredevil was snapped away, but like his friends Foggy were not. I mean, they've talked about Jessica Jones and Luke Cage and Iron Fist. I'm sure those specific characters, because we haven't seen them since pre-Infinity War. I'm
mhm.
sure we'll get to learn more about what happened to them in Daredevil Born Again season two, possibly.
That's interesting. I did not think about that, but you are 100% right. And it would make sense because that would be a reason why he didn't have friends. But just as a kid, he seems to be awkward because a large part of him is trying to hold it together. Um, and him trying to not be seen, right? And we see this from he's what 8, 9 or whatever when they manifest or that we know.
Yeah.
Um, so I don't know. Maybe a part of him being on guard is what I gotta hide from people. You know what I mean? I gotta hide from people because he's not. Although he is a bit self-absorbed, which I think all good actors probably have to be. They gotta you gotta know
Yeah.
yourself. You gotta be able to do that process. He is a bit self-absorbed. It's interesting. When the girlfriend, I think in episode one, when he gets home and she's leaving, and he's like, wait, what are you doing? And she's like, you never opened up with me, right?
Mhm.
Um, and I filed that away when I saw the first episode, like, okay, and then she comes back in a later episode and she says, I knew about your powers. I just felt like it wasn't my place to say anything. But he's completely shocked. But that lets you know if this is his girlfriend, someone who he clearly cares about, maybe even loves, and he hides from her, he hides from everybody. There's nobody he can share a secret with. There's nobody he can be like, you know what? I can blow up everybody. You can't, at least in his world, in his mind, trusting people is very difficult, which complicates the relationship between he and Trevor because he does open up to Trevor. and
Mhm.
and 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 I think Trevor really begins to like him, and that's the transition that we see through this. But
Yeah.
again, Simon's a reluctant hero. He's obsessed with legacy and recognition. He struggles with what's real versus what's performed. Um, and I think that's true. Trevor is returning comic relief with depth. He represents image over substance, a walking commentary on the MCU itself. Damn. Uh ah, I'm not touching that one. Neil Sarian, Hollywood power broker, symbol of gatekeeping, control, and exploitation. Thoughts?
I mean, I'll touch on it. He is a walking commentary of the MCU itself. I mean, with post Endgame, it's like Marvel became a shell of itself, and it's and Trevor was literally hiding behind the Department of Damage Control. Now, I think a lot of what Trevor was doing under the reign of the Department of Damage Control, I think a lot of it was him. But it except for the episode where he was with his family, with Simon's family. I think that episode specifically, he was trying to like really infiltrate and really figure out like things and stuff. And but otherwise, like any conversations he was having were like genuinely his own. And that's just like I don't know. Trevor's a meme at this point. Um, and that's kind of what like when I think about like post Endgame issues with Marvel, there's the they try so hard into the comedy and they luckily they stopped that over the last like 2 years. They really stopped that after Love and Thunder. Thor: Love and Thunder just failed. Thor: Love and Thunder and She-Hulk getting them. Oh my goodness, that was just a complete failure. When we get to She-Hulk, I know I said I'm gonna be angry with the Amazing Spider-Man 2 when we review that.
Next week?
Um, yes, I like I She-Hulk is my favorite female superhero ever. I love She-Hulk. I love the animated series of She-Hulk showing up in the Incredible Hulk. I love She-Hulk in the comics. She-Hulk's always been so cool to me. And what they did with and I love Tatiana Maslany as She-Hulk. The issue is the whole rest of the show sucks.
Mm-hmm.
And I hate it. I hate it so much, and I'm so disappointed with what they did with the character. Um, and they made it this like comedic show that it's like a courtroom drama, but wasn't a courtroom drama, and it's just frustrating. And then Thor: Love and Thunder, they just lean too much into jokes and stuff. Like what made Endgame and earlier shows movies um funny was that these are when we go about life, right? We have conversations and then we'll throw in comedy. Nobody is constantly doing comedy
Right.
off the rip. Like otherwise, this whole entire all our reviews would just be jokes about just like I don't know anything,
Right.
and that's what that's what made that era of Marvel so great is that they threw in comedy like naturally.
Right.
Um,
It was a balance. It was organic.
yes.
Mm-hmm.
And it's stuff that like if you go to work, right? And you're talking with your coworkers about something you're working on and you're like, "All right, we have to do this, this and this." And and someone like somehow, I don't know, like you look at Age of Ultron. How Age of Ultron opens up, the first line of dialogue is Steve saying shit, and then or Iron Man saying shit, and then Captain America like
Language.
language. Like it's just I'm like that's so, that's so stupid.
Language.
And but everybody loves it because like imagine you're at work and you're in the middle of a meeting and someone curses and then someone else says language,
Language.
but like you have but you have that relatability in like you trust these people, it's not a
Yeah.
huge deal,
Yeah.
and you just move on, you move on. Like you don't hold up on the comedy, you don't drag that out
Right.
like the whole screaming goats thing in Thor: Love and Thunder. I'm gonna be honest, first time I heard it thought it was stupid. Every other time throughout that movie thought it was stupid. So getting back to Trevor, like it was he's always been this constant joke
Uh-huh.
and it's just so dragged out. but now it's a redemption. Now it's like he does. There is some continuous jokes and stuff like just with him, but there's also added layers like battling addiction. That was one thing that we definitely saw with him
Hmm.
throughout this. And he wants to make it clear to people that he's been sober for 13 years.
Hmm.
And and that's one thing we will that's why we want to root for him. We're like
Yeah,
we don't want to see this dude
slip back into
like
it.
slip.
Hmm.
Yeah. And he's clearly doing right in the world. Now, do I think he should be in prison? Yeah, he shot a man. Like, come on. He shot a man in
Did he
Iron Man
really
3.
shoot that guy? I,
I don't know. They didn't they haven't talked about
I
that.
don't think he did. I
But
don't.
that guy is dead.
Yeah, but I don't think he shot him because I don't think, especially going back to Iron Man 3, I don't think he had the stones to do it. I
I
think if
don't
he,
think so either.
I think if he'd have shot somebody, he would have freaked out. Like I don't think, I don't. Yeah, I mean, it was
But how do
terrible.
you do that? How do you do like would they have had to have had a blank and then an edit in there like but it was a live feed. So that's I've been confused ever since
They could
I
have
saw
edited.
that.
They could have edited it. But I don't think he shot him. I really don't. I don't think he did. But I mean, whatever. Maybe we'll learn more of it.
Yeah.
But to get back to the Mandarin, I think that they, from what I'm hearing, is the Mandarin, the pure Mandarin from the comics would be a bit much to debut in an Iron Man 3 at that
Yeah.
time because I just don't think the average audience would understand the Mandarin, the magic, the who he is. I don't think they would understand that. I don't think they
I
would get
didn't
that.
I didn't understand the villain we got.
Right. I think
But that's for Iron Man
yeah.
3.
I think he would have been a little hokey to them. So I
Yeah.
understand. I understand why they pivoted and did that. Now I got to be honest with you. When I first saw it, I hated it. Because I was so into, oh my God, like he did a great job of selling himself as the Mandarin. America, your president has once again disappointed me. And now he will pay the cost. It's like, who is this guy, right? And then we find out, wait a minute, he's an actor? I probably spent 20 minutes after finding that out, like, I think I got it checked out because mentally I was like, this is BS. But the interesting, and we'll get into that, but in going back and looking at it, I understand what they were thinking. I still don't think it was great, but I don't mind it as much now, especially tying it into this. I don't mind it. I mean, I get it, I understand, but I don't mind it. But anyway, episode 3, Under the Lights. There's an onset accident that's caused by iconic energy because basically Wonder Man got upset and could got in his feels and couldn't hold it back. And Simon's secret begins leaking, and superhuman incidents draw government attention. Now, again, the only question I'd ask is, do they make a reference to the incident in this series? Because understand, even though Thanos killed half of life, he only did it in one universe.
Yeah.
Because the thing we know about the gauntlet is they only work in that universe. We've seen, iterations in Marvel Comics where the gauntlet has been taken to another universe and it didn't work. So it
Yeah.
only works in that universe. Thusly, if you were impacted by the snap, you would have to be in the 616 universe. And I guess my question is, do we get that? Do we know? Not sure. I'd have to go back and take a look. Damage control becomes monitoring production. So why it matters confirms Simon exists inside the MCU oversight systems. And you know what? I gotta take a moment to get up on my get up on my soapbox here. So they kind of they touch on privatized prisons, and I that resonated with me because a lot of these privatized prisons, they're for-profit organizations. So guess what? If they don't get enough people to populate the jail, then they're not going to
Yep.
remain open. And so a
Yep.
lot of times these justice systems, and I use that term,
Mhm.
whatever. A lot of times these justice systems will be uber aggressive with folk of a certain hue. They will charge them the maximum for petty crimes because again they're trying to feed the beast, right? As a matter of fact, in one of the scenes they're like, "Well, this is only halfway full." Right? And again, Simon isn't a sinister person. Why would you lock him up? You know what I mean? And they talk about, well, we could, we could take him off the streets, but we could also weaponize him. But again, why do that? Like he's just a man out here trying to why don't you try and help him? Why don't you try and understand? But automatically you go to, yeah, we need to lock him up. Their budget cuts and this prison is only half full. And it's from my understanding, initially the purpose of prisons, I won't get into that because I know the real purpose. But the purpose, the public persona of prisons was to rehabilitate people. And the prison system is anything but that. You get a felony, good luck, because you're gonna have to have a business, because you're not gonna work for a corporation. And that's not what the intent was. Prison is a way of stripping away your ability to compete in the rat race. You get a felony, you just certain jobs you're not gonna get. You know what I mean? They take away your right to bear arms. Um, and look, I'm not saying that in certain cases that's not fair. I'm just saying that the way that the prison system is now, it is not rehabilitation. It is hell. And 9 times out of 10, you're going to come out worse than you ever went in because the things that you have to do to survive are going to make you a different person, right? But anyway, that's not the point is they reference the fact that the prison is half full and they need to
Yeah.
ramp it up to fill it. And that just resonated with me because I'm like, this is just evil.
Yeah.
Like this prison isn't there because you're trying to make America safe or the world safe. That's just a benefit. This prison is there to make money. And you got to fill it, innocent or not, malicious or not, a maligning character or not. And it just felt a little bit like what has been going on with black and brown for the last 30 years with these privatized prisons, and more recently what's going on with ICE now. Let's just wrap them all up. They just, you know what I mean? Just it's I didn't like it. I liked it, but I didn't like it because it reminded me of the ugliness as to what's going on. But I'm interested to hear your take on it.
And like they point at that so straightforward in the
Oh,
finale when
very
they
much
arrest
so.
Trevor.
Very
When
much so.
they arrest Trevor, they're like it's like suddenly Simon Williams doesn't matter. They got someone
Right.
in prison.
Right.
And I'm like that's gross.
Yeah.
That's just like that's just and look, I've done a lot of studies. I took a forensics class and I took two forensics classes, one in high school and one in college, just because I like forensics and data
The
analysis. And part of
epithelials. CSI, the
yes,
epithelials.
yes, but part of that was studying wrongly convicted
Right.
people
Right.
and why they get convicted. And I had a professor in high school that did a fantastic job going over everything, and I learned a lot from that class. And in fact, I my family loves Investigation Discovery, the channel. So ID is probably on right now.
Yeah.
So someone's getting murdered.
Right.
Um,
Right.
and but I always love the science behind DNA analysis and stuff
Hmm.
like that. That's why I took the forensics class. I thought it would be very interesting to look at. We looked at a lot of different crime scenes. Part of our final was measuring out the angles of blood spatter.
Hmm.
I find blood spatter analysis to be very interesting,
Okay, Dexter. Ah.
well, I didn't even know what Dexter was until last year or 2 years ago. And I took this class years ago because I find it interesting because I like math, I like geometry, I like angles, seeing
Hmm.
angles and of certain things, and I look at that with football and being able to throw a ball at a certain angle, being able to put enough velocity to have a ball like hit a certain target,
Right, right.
and same thing can be applied to anything when it comes to geometry and angles. And with blood spatter analysis, is that. And part of our final was looking at blood spatter and being able to tell if that person was wrongly convicted or rightly convicted. And there would be instances where as a and we had an open discussion final in this
Hmm.
where we all took part and voted. Did this per should this person have
Been
been
convicted.
in
Hmm.
in convicted or not?
Hmm.
Was this person innocent or guilty?
Hmm.
And there would be times where the whole class unanimously is like, yeah, this person's innocent. And then the professor's like, okay, well, this person was actually found guilty. And then after 20 years of being in prison, uh, they went back to a trial to look at the DNA analysis and were like, he was wrongfully convicted. And so that person had 20 years of their life wasted.
Hmm.
um,
Stolen.
and they can't get that back.
Right.
So that was the you learn the sad truth of like just the
The
justice
justice
system in
system. Yeah.
general, and also another part of that is um, pretty much pre 90s and like pre mid 90s when DNA analysis really started getting into the criminal justice system. There wasn't enough background knowledge through anything, so a lot of people got wrongfully convicted all the time. And now we're finally getting back to that and
Hmm.
through DNA analysis, which I'm really glad. I mean, I've done a lot of research on people. Like there's groups out there that go to prisons and talk with people who or maybe involved in murders or
Hmm.
maybe involved with just petty crimes,
Hmm.
and through DNA analysis they get taken out of prison. So, um, I mean, yeah, it's a direct commentary on this show
Hmm.
that like you have like they're targeting Wonder Man, they're targeting Simon the entire
Right.
time,
Right.
but but and I'm so glad they added the scene where they're in the Department of Damage Control, all saying like we need budget cuts and stuff like that because it shows how desperate they are to not get Simon, but just to get anyone in
Somebody.
there.
Right.
Yes. So even though I'm glad we focused in on this one Department of Damage Control guy. I can't remember his name, but
His
he's been
name.
in
Yeah.
Spider-Man: Brand New Day. He's been in Miss Marvel. He's been in all this stuff. I really don't care about his character all that much,
Hmm.
but we see that he wanted Simon. He wanted Simon this whole time,
Hmm.
and he still wants Simon.
Hmm.
But he got his bosses off his back by just getting anyone in there.
Right.
So he's going to be a little bit more lenient. And I mean, that could lead to multiple seasons of this. I don't know if Wonder Man's going to be renewed for any for another season or not. I don't think so, just with the state of Marvel. But I would love to, I 100% want to see this iteration of Wonder Man going forward. Um, but yeah, it's a direct parallel to like what happens in I mean real life with
Yeah.
people getting convicted all the time.
Yeah. And arrested for
Just to
basically.
fill a spot basically.
Yeah. Basically. So anyway. Um. Trevor lies to protect Simon. Why it matters. Trevor chooses loyalty over self-preservation. So at this point, Trevor's like, no, I haven't seen anything. He's basically lying to the DODC agent. And we see at this point that Trevor's all in on helping out Simon, but he's trying to figure out a way to stay out of jail himself, but also help Simon. Because I think their connection is pure. I think it starts out like, okay, these look, I'm just trying to stay out of jail, but I think it ends up to where Trevor really he begins to like and respect Simon. And so he's doing everything he can to avoid that. Um, and look in the character arc, Trevor becomes a protector and not a fraud, and that's a big theme. That's almost like, have you ever seen the musical the Music Man?
I when it comes to music, I had this conversation with someone earlier this week. When it comes to musicals, I've watched Hairspray. I've watched um, pretty much anything Wizard of Oz related, and I've watched oh, what is that? The old movie. I don't watch musicals.
Okay,
I don't enjoy them all that much.
okay,
But there's very few that I really enjoy. Hairspray is one of them, with anything Wizard of Oz related, and
okay.
I can't for some reason remember this last one, but even though
It's
it's one of the
okay.
greatest of all
It'll
time.
come to you when we've been off this show for 3 or 4 hours, and you'll be like, "Oh yeah," I mean, it's just the way it goes. But no,
Yes,
the Music
yes.
Man is about a charlatan that comes to town to take advantage of these people, and he falls in love with the town. He falls in love with the people, and he ends
Mhm.
up becoming exactly who he is personifying himself to be in this instance. But I watched the musical when I was kid. It came on HBO, and I don't know why I was watching, but I ended up watching. I fell in love with it. There's a song from it called the Wells Fargo man or something like that, but it goes, "Oh, the Wells Fargo man is a coming down." No, the Wells Fargo wagon is a coming down the street. Oh, please let it be for me. Anyway, I'm not gonna kill you with the rest of my singing prowess, but I love that musical, right? But I think it aligns with this in that Trevor starts out a fraud, but he literally becomes this protector of Simon, and he becomes this Obi-Wan of Simon, and basically really trying to help him, right? Because make no mistake about it, Trevor's still trying to be an actor. Trevor's still, I think Trevor had one good role in this place, and it got in some movie or whatever, but it got taken from him. And he never really ends up making it. And whilst he is doing this and still trying to be relevant in the business, he takes on Simon and legitimately tries to advise him and help him grow. And I love that about it.
West Side Story was it? West Side Story.
There's a
Love,
place for us. I love West Side Story. Someday
love it.
there'll be a place for us. Yeah, I love. Golly, yeah, that was. Ah, I love West Side Story.
I don't like musicals because I love music. I
Hmm.
love movies. I don't like the two of them together. And also I just I don't know if I find it weird when you're writing a script and we're like, all right, this is such a great script,
Hmm.
and then suddenly in the middle of like an intense emotional scene, you're
You
just
gotta
like
sing. You gotta break out in
singing.
song. Yeah, yeah. But
I
I mean,
I find it hilarious
but
to
that
even
that
comprehend.
that that's theater. So in high school, I was a nerd. So I was in several plays. I was in drama. I was in chorus. So I think we did. Oh God, sunrise, sunset. What is that? Fiddler on the Roof. We did Oklahoma. Oklahoma. And we did another one that I can't remember, but um, yeah, I some musicals I like just because of coming up in that. I was in every school play that we had. I was the lead in a lot of so my mother was a pastor, and I was always the lead in every church play we had. So, it was, but the point is, yeah, I I love certain musicals. Certain musicals, I'm like, whatever. Like Fiddler on the Roof, nah, never did anything for me. But West Side Story, oh,
Yes.
oh,
Yes. Love it.
oh, and Barbara,
I haven't seen the new one, the
right,
one with Steven Spielberg. I haven't
right,
seen that. I'm the original. Yeah.
yeah.
That
with
was great.
Natalie Wood and who
Yes.
died unfortunately
Hmm.
through some nefarious circumstances. But
Yeah.
yeah, great,
And
great, 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 great movie.
what's funny to tie this back in is later on when after Simon gets cast as Wonder Man, Trevor's like, "Why don't you do theater?" And Simon's very open to doing theater, and even though he could be doing anything now, Wonder Man is that type of character in a sense that like you look at Captain America. Let's say we reboot all of everything and we're trying to or Captain America or Iron Man like a Steve Rogers. You're looking for Steve Rogers, or you're looking for Tony Stark. You're looking for that next who's going to be playing them. As soon as you're casted in one of those roles, you immediately shoot up to the top of every single list in Hollywood
Sure.
to do whatever you want. You can literally be any single character in any movie you want, unless it's a Christopher Nolan movie, he'll reach out to you. Um, and he's like, "Nah, I think Trevor's right. I want to do a play." And I'm like, "I like that. You're sticking to your roots. I appreciate that. Also, you're saying no to a Netflix series. Good for you. Love that."
I guess my question is, why do you think Trevor did that?
Um, I think Trevor was I don't Trevor's old school. And I also agreed with his philosophy there. He was like, you don't want to be a part of a franchise like Wonder Man and try to attach yourself to another franchise. That's what leads to franchises like either getting recasted or like recasting the main lead, or they go to like a spin-off. Like let's take Home Alone for example.
Hmm.
You had Macaulay Culkin in the first two movies. The third one was supposed to have Macaulay Culkin, but there was because he was attached to so many other projects. He was like, no, we're not going to do this.
Right.
That happens all the time, and I completely agree. Another one which I think will happen, and I'm predicting the future here. Um, Simu Liu, who plays Shang-Chi,
Hmm.
um, he's now in a series on Peacock and NBC. I don't really know what it's all a ton about. Something about like cameras in your eyes or something. I don't really know. I'm never gonna watch it.
No.
And they keep advertising it like anytime you watch. I'm sure when you watch the Super Bowl, you're gonna see a bunch of it. Um, but I think Simu Liu is. I don't think this show lasts like 3 seasons with Simu Liu. Either the show's going to get canceled first, or he's going to drop out. Mainly because he's going to have so many other things to be doing.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
he's going to be Shang-Chi. He's gonna like as soon as if Doomsday is what we think it could be, that series is not getting promoted whatsoever. It's he's gonna be the main lead. In my opinion, he should be one of the main leads of the Avengers. Because I think he's an amazing character actor, and I think it's an amazing character that he's playing. Um, but it happens all the time where so you have to take on smaller roles, really smaller roles. Don't get attached to multiple projects, multiple franchises. Is that I think Pedro Pascal is really spreading himself thin. Like he's now a part of he's Mr. Fantastic. He's the Mandalorian, and he's I don't really know The Last of Us, the video games and
Hmm.
stuff, but I think he's a part of the series on HBO Max.
Mm.
Like he's spreading himself, and on top of that, he's doing like other movies. Like I just watched The Materialists with him, and I'm like, how are you doing all of
He's never
this?
home, is what he is.
Like, yeah. So don't. Eventually, it's gonna catch up to
It
him,
will. It will.
and it happens all the time. We see this all the time. So yes, I complete. Was there some backstory like with like Department of Damage Control that could have been a reason why Trevor said that? Yeah, but I completely agree with what Trevor was saying that like Simon really loves the Wonder Man character. He probably, if it were up to him, he probably would play Wonder Man for the rest of his life.
Probably would.
So don't, when you're starting that franchise, don't go and do a Netflix
Right.
thing. Go do you can do theater. That's what Tom Holland did. When
Mm-hmm.
Tom Holland became Spider-Man, that is exactly what he did. Tom Holland's been in theaters since he was like really young. So you become Spider-Man, let's do some Broadway.
Yeah.
Rachel Zegler, even though I don't like Rachel Zegler, I do not like Rachel Zegler at all. I want to make that very clear. She played Sleeping Beauty. Also, immediately after that was a part of Broadway. So I think as a completely healthy way of acting, you're not spreading yourself thin, and you're also diversifying yourself.
Hmm. And the feedback is immediate, like you're live. So if you mess up,
Yeah.
you gotta be on it. It.
Yes.
I've heard actors say it sharpens your craft because
Yes.
the audience is gonna let you know if you suck or not. So
Yep.
that's true. But let's get down to brass tacks here. So in episode 6, I believe, 6 or 7, where basically someone calls out Trevor for being arrested, and and then released immediately. I forget who. I can't remember who it is, but he and Wonder Man have a conversation about it. Wonder Man, I mean Simon's like, so you got arrested. So what happened? How'd you get released? What'd you do? And he's like, well. And at this point, they've spent so much time around each other. Trevor can't lie to him. He just can't. And Simon finally says, okay, how long? So the family get together? No, before that. No, before that. And he says, was any of this real? Because understand, Simon's never had a friend. So the one friend that God has blessed you with on your existence on this mortal coil is stabbing you in the back daily, is deceiving you, is betraying you with every conversation, with every encounter, with every interaction. And I think uh, the actor here, Simon, does a great job of displaying his emotions because he's trying to hold it back because he's really upset and he's trying to hold it back. Okay. And he says, damn, man, damn good job. Damn fine acting. And he walks away and goes into an empty studio. And I think he does this because he does care for Trevor and he realizes if he loses it, Trevor's going to be dead. I think this is why he walks away. I need a moment. Let me walk away. And he's thinking about it and he goes into the studio and boom. I mean, explosion. I mean, wow. You know what I mean? We see the full display of his power, and he is dangerous. Make no mistake about it. If he can't control it, people are going to die. Bottom line, right? Um. So let's talk about that because I think he does a great job of just he can't react how normal people would react. He can't be like, what the bleep? Because people will die. Trevor will die. So in this moment, he has to control himself while his emotions are raging inside, running rampant. What about this? What about that? His mind is firing on all synapses. And that has to be hell. And I think he does a great job of conveying that in his face with his facial expressions. But let's talk about your thoughts in this moment here.
Well, I think it's a fantastic. This script is fantastic. Like just the whole process. There's not a single fight scene in this entire series, and I
There's
am
one when
recommending
they
it to
get
so many
robbed.
people.
There's one when they get robbed.
Yeah,
When they try
it's
to, man.
it's one of those things that like you could have seen that in like a romantic comedy.
Right,
Like
right,
it's I wouldn't even say there's a fight scene.
right,
It's like all right, one dude beats up other guys. That's really it.
right.
Um and it's they just do such a great job of making you care for these characters.
Hmm.
It's not even it's this is not an action series. This is
It's not.
this is so incredible.
It's a series
And
about a guy who happens to be a superhero.
yes, yes.
That's what it is.
And a very powerful one.
Right.
Like after this scene, I said to myself, I want this dude in Doomsday and Secret Wars.
I think he will.
Cause I hope
Yeah,
so.
because you know
He's
he's a West Coast Avenger, right?
yeah,
In the comics, he's a
yes,
West
yeah,
Coast. But yeah,
yes.
he will 100%. I think be in Doomsday.
I don't know if he'll be in Doomsday. My prediction is that the people in Doomsday, most of them will die, and we're not gonna see many newer characters, already established characters, especially people from Disney Plus series. But I think he'll be in Secret
Secret
Wars.
Wars.
I think everybody's gonna be in Secret Wars.
Okay.
I think like you and I are gonna be in Secret Wars. I think every U.S. president, everybody is
other versions of us from
yes,
different
other
universes
versions of
will
us.
be in it. Like
Dr.
you'll
Dre is
have a
gonna
T
be in
Will
it.
with hair. You'll
Leonardo
you'll have
DiCaprio,
a Jordan that's 7 feet tall. And
Katy Perry, you name it, anybody is gonna be in this movie except Edward Norton. Um,
can you imagine? Can you imagine? We'd just be getting a civil war now if Edward Norton were the Hulk in this
yeah,
movie. We would literally, because well, I don't, I mean, and that's what made this funny. Because as I'm watching this, I'm like, oh my god, this is literally Edward Norton. This is, you know what I mean.
yes,
But to his
yeah,
credit, he is good. Like a lot of I think in one of the movies, he had to do that. He had to
yeah.
rewrite a lot of scenes. So I get it, but again, anyway.
But
Um,
the I love this. I love this scene from a script perspective because it shows how emotion like Simon has to be emotionally intelligent. He
yes, he does.
has to,
He
or
has to.
otherwise he will
People will
hurt other
die.
people.
People will die.
So
Yeah.
so what has my mom and everybody's mom always told them during a fight? Walk away.
Right.
Walk away.
Right.
That is exactly what he does in this situation. Is a very emotionally intelligent person, and he knows he's gonna hurt. His powers are representative of like words you don't want to say,
Right.
or actions you don't want to do
Take. Right.
in the middle of a fight.
Right.
So he does the smart thing and just walks away and releases that in an empty space so that nobody gets hurt.
Right.
Love that. I think
Right.
that is fantastic. And also everything gets disintegrated. That is just so cool. When he did that, I'm like, that was the whole building is just gone. That like I'm like Wanda would be able to do that. Like I don't there are not many characters and the Hulk wouldn't even be able to do that. He'd be able to destroy a lot of it, but everything's disintegrated.
Yes.
Atoms. It's incredible to see. That's how you display someone's powers without needing to just put them into a fight. You
Right.
don't need to do that.
Right.
I don't know what this guy's capable of. Like
I don't think he
that's what
knows what
makes
he's
this show
capable of.
great.
I don't think he
He
knows what he's
doesn't.
capable of. Yeah.
That's why I can't wait for when if he gets shown in like Secret Wars and we're in the middle of this huge battle and he gets to release all of his energy to just be like, all right, screw everybody. I'm destroying these variants of like, I don't know, Doom bots or like Kang
Yeah.
variants or I don't know, alien species, whatever ends up happening, I
Yeah.
don't know.
Yeah.
That's why I have no I'm very worried for Secret Wars and Doomsday because I have no idea what I'm expecting. Um, and so it like I want to see more of this, and I love Yahya Abdul-Mateen in this role so much, and I really hope like I know he's on the press tour, so he can't share his like actual
Hmm.
thoughts of the character and script and stuff like that. I want to hear him afterwards talk about it, but I'm super excited for this actor and this character going forward. I
Yeah.
just really hope that this isn't a throwaway, which I think they're gonna end up doing with She-Hulk. I want to see more of this, more of him.
I do too. I think what comes next really, I was like, wow. So, obviously, Mandarin, Trevor reaches out to Simon in the next episode and he's like, look, man, I got this. I'll handle it. And he's like, what are you going to do? He's like, don't worry about it.
Mm.
And then we see, on the news, America. You
America.
thought I was gone. Your president still isn't listening. You thought that I was acting. I've been the Mandarin the entire time. And America, you aren't listening. And I'm like, holy crap, man. Oh my God. And he laid it out perfectly to where they had no choice but to arrest him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What's his name knows he's lying. But he
Yeah.
had no choice but to arrest him because he went public. Now, how he got the technology to do that, being that dude from Extremis is dead, I have no idea. But whatever, we'll roll with it. Um, or did he just release tapes? I don't know. Either way, I thought this was a genius move by the writers, and I really thought this was Trevor saying, "Hey, man, our friendship is real, and you don't deserve this, and you go and have a great life." And
Mhm.
I really, 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 I look it, man. I'm for Trevor, man. Like
Yeah.
when he did that, I was like, wow. I was like, wow, man. I was blown away. Um, let's talk about your thoughts on it, man. How did you feel about it?
Oh, that was such an emotional gut punch because that's how you. I worry sometimes with with movies and shows that aren't action, um, and are drama, but there is action in it. It's just not a main source of
Hmm.
like the
The
story.
driving force,
Um,
yeah,
I worry with how you get to the peak of the series.
yeah.
And there are multiple peaks throughout this series and that make them really good. And this, in my opinion, is such an emotional gut punch that it is the peak of the entire series because we're seeing like Trevor's given up his basically his whole life
Mm-hmm.
now. He does because he will go to prison for the rest of his life now,
Hmm.
and he will not see the light of day.
He will not.
Um, and
He basically
I'm
went to Gitmo.
yes, yeah, and you're like the entire time you're like no no like we want to root for Simon. We're like I don't know how Simon's gonna get out of this, but then he does that and I'm like no, come on. And you feel for Trevor. This is the redemption has finally happened
Right,
and we're rooting for
Trevor.
we're like bravo, like you really won us over. um and yeah, the entire time we're like, I mean, I've seen other people's posts. They're like, I can't believe how emotionally invested I am into Trevor that
Hmm.
I actually care for him in this
Hmm.
moment.
Hmm.
And that's the resounding. That's what everybody seems to be saying right now in this moment. So like, I'm. It's a gut punch, but it was totally worth it. I wondered throughout this. I wondered a lot through Wonderman. And
Pun
I
intended.
wondered, pun completely intended. There was so much wonder. Um, I mean, I just I wondered how they were going to how the show was going to culminate.
Hmm.
Like what was going to be the thing that I was like, this is a great show or this is a bad show.
Hmm.
And them doing this, this was a great show, and I really liked I really liked how they tied this in, and it made you care for all these characters.
It really did, bro. I mean, I when he did that, I'm like, wow. I was speechless. And then in the final episode, Simon goes to see this essentially prison guard at this prison for the DDOC and tells him, "Hey, man, I'm doing this role because after this Wonder Man is released, it does great. Simon is a new star. He's got his pick of roles, and he's like, look, I'm doing this. You know, I'm doing this role, and I need to research you." And the guy agrees to it. And
I was
Simon,
so confused during that whole like I was like,
I
what is
was
he
too.
getting at?
Well, no, I legitimately thought he was. I legitimately thought he was reviewing it for a role. I thought because I've seen people go and study characters.
Yeah.
Like that's kind of. So I thought that, and I didn't realize it until they got to the prison. I'm like,
Yep.
oh man,
Yeah, that's when I got it too.
okay,
Yep.
I already know where this is going.
Uh-huh.
And the guy's talking about how he doesn't have a choice. He's got medical issues or whatever. And Simon essentially gives him a check with enough money to where he can quit the job. And I'm like, go Simon. I love that. I love who Simon became because a lot of people in Hollywood just people in general when they succeed they're not better people. You know what I mean? But Simon really, you know what I mean, studies this guy and says, hey, and his wife calls him the morning of, hey, you've got we've got enough money here, you can quit that job. And when she says that, I'm like, oh, Simon's about to break him out of jail. We
Mm,
clearly see that now, right?
yeah.
Um, and Simon, goes and gets Trevor, and Trevor's like, what are you doing? The whole point of me doing this so you could go on with your life. You're gonna be a fugitive now. And Simon's like, hey man, let me worry about that. And blast through the roof of Gitmo or whatever that prison is, and flies off. And I thought man, I watched that like this is great, like that perfect ending.
Yep.
Um, I don't know. Give me your thoughts on that last scene, final
Yeah,
episode.
I was so confused. I was like, what are we getting at?
Yeah,
Like and because they took so many long pauses
they did.
to make you really just sit on the scene, and I'm just like, what are we? Where are we right now? Like, what is this supposed to go to? I thought maybe they were gonna like some. I thought Marvel was gonna do their stereotypical Marvel and like connect it to like some other character. Like, I thought we maybe could have seen like Shang-Chi or like Sam Wilson or I don't even know at that point. I'm thinking to myself, all right, this is Disney, this is Marvel. We're probably gonna see someone be like I'm building a team or something like that. But no, we didn't. We didn't. We got a great script for a great show,
Hmm.
and I loved it. And that is exactly what happened. These last like 3 episodes are fantastic,
They
and I
really are.
recommend
They
to
really
so
are.
many people.
They really are.
Um, and them just dragging out this last part, you're like, what the heck? You're like, what the heck is this supposed to be for? This just feels so weird, and I thought we were gonna get some like just screen cuts to black and that's how it ends, and we're like, all right, that was kind of a stupid ending, but there was a whole plot where it's like, oh, he's a really good actor. He's not just any actor. This guy is a great actor. And pretending to be like he's pretending to be someone to pretend that what this whole thing is just so great. And Yahya Abdul-Mateen is literally acting like an actor that is pretending to be someone's son that's trying to be in role for some random stranger, but he's acting like that so that he can get into there's so many layers of acting in this that I'm like, Yaya did such a great job this whole time to get into this character. Like, he knows exactly what he needs to do. And at that moment I'm like, he's gonna break Trevor out. I was like, I don't know where this is headed. And I want to know like where this is headed and stuff like that afterwards. And during this whole time, you hear the dialogue from the Department of Damage Control that kind of explains his powers a little more of like on an atomic level. Um, and they just break him out, and it ends just like that. And honestly, I couldn't have asked for a better ending to the series. I think this is just a it's such a wholesome way to end this series, and we didn't even get an end credit scene. I mean, I was looking for one. We didn't get one in any of the episodes, but I don't think it needed one because I think this was a great script. A lot of great scripts in previous phases. We've gotten great scripts, and then we get an end credit scene where like it just tries to tie in with something else, but you didn't need to do that. because this was such a great script that it was his own story, and I thoroughly enjoyed it.
I thought it was great, man. I thought again, just the ending and I don't know that Wonder Man knows where he's going, but I thought that was pretty good. Um,
Mhm.
and I mean, let's see where it goes. But hey, man, brass tacks, we got to rate this thing. So I think this is the first series we're rating. I
Yes.
don't really have something to compare this to yet.
Yeah.
Uh,
I always my here's my recommendation for you. Like, all right, I used to just rate the whole series, but now I go episode by episode, giving ratings out of 10. I literally will go through each episode and say, would I rather watch this or would I rather watch like Iron Man or
mhm,
Captain America or Miss Marvel or Captain Marvel. Like I will literally think to myself, would I rather watch 30 minutes of this one episode
okay,
or something else? So I will like whatever my score is directly comparable to that of like
all right,
any of our movies that we review.
I got
And then at the end of it, I take the average score, and
of
that's
that.
the series as a whole.
Okay,
But I mean, even at you don't have to do episode by episode, but you can just
do
think
that
of
in
it like,
comparison.
would you rather watch this or something else? Just like I've done with you before. Like if you have four 7 out of 10s, um, would you rather watch this 7 out of 10 or that 7 out of 10? Stuff like that.
Hmm. Okay. That's that seems yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well, um hmm. I'm gonna give this an 8 out of 10. And it would have been a probably a 9.5 if it wasn't for that stupid doorman episode.
Yeah.
So and I'm gonna rate it just under X-Men First Class for me at an 8 out of 10.
First class.
Yep.
All right.
All right. I have no idea what you're gonna rate this, so go ahead, sir. I was thinking about that, and I don't know, but I have no idea. But go ahead.
So I'll go episode by episode and then say the average. Like I think the show started off great. So the first episode I gave an 8.5 out of 10. Honestly, that's the one thing Marvel has stuck with a lot of their series is they know how to nail the first episode.
Yeah.
They did that with Wonder Man, or not Wonder Man, Moon Knight. They've done that with Miss Marvel. They've done that with everything. They know exactly how they want to start, but they have no idea where to go along after. Um, but 8.5 out of 10, like I was thoroughly invested in the character. We're seeing his downfall. This was a great character arc for Wonder Man, the whole series, because we see him like fall from grace. I was watching this and I'm like, this is why I love Spider-Man.
Hmm.
Is because he doesn't have anything,
Right.
and he's just trying going off willpower.
Yeah.
That is exactly what I loved about this
Yeah.
series.
Yeah.
Like we see him struggle, and then we see him come up.
Hmm.
So I gave it 8.5 out of 10. Episodes 2 and 3 are kind of the similar format. I gave 7 out of 10s to both episodes.
Hmm.
There's not too much. They're enjoyable. That's really it. The Doorman episode, I gave a 5 out of 10. Like I gave it a positive review because if you watch it by itself, it's like, all right, this is good.
Yeah.
This is cool. What we're watching,
Yeah.
but it has no. It's not relevant
It's not
whatsoever to
connected. Well,
anything.
not
So
as
I
a
just
30-minute episode. No,
yeah.
like you could have that could have been a 10-minute blip, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. So, I gave it like the middle score, 5 out of 10.
Yeah.
I don't, and then move on. And in fact, that brings the entire series down because
Yeah,
it
that
probably is a lot higher
that
for me.
episode was a plot device to explain to us why uh
Yeah.
at super enhanced actors are illegal. That's
Yes.
what that whole
Um,
episode was.
and for some reason threw in Josh Gad for some stupid reason. Um, so episode 5, I'm trying to remember what happens in episode 5. Let me see. I just need to see what the titles were, and then I'll remember what they were.
Unscripted
Um,
is episode 5.
what happened in that episode?
Uh, Simon has an
W-
emotional breakdown. It triggers a power surge.
oh, all
Um,
right. I gave that a 7.5 out of 10.
okay.
Um, I mean, there. Oh wait, that was the found footage. That was the episode where there's like they think it's a drug deal and stuff like that. They're trying to.
Mm,
It just felt like we were off course from the actual story in
yeah.
this episode.
Yeah.
So I give it a 7.5 out of 10. I think it was better than episodes 2 and 3 because I think there was more comedic relief in this, and I was just finding it really funny the whole time. And there's also the emotional payoff that like they got the parts. Um, episode and here on out it gets better. Episode 6, I gave it an 8 out of 10.
Yep.
Um, that's the dialogue in that. Oh, which by the way, when Simon's dreaming and he punches the dude through his
Yeah. Through his
head,
head.
freaked me out.
Yeah.
I
Me
was
too.
just I was like, what the heck is going
Yeah. I
on?
was like, word. Yeah.
And then it's a dream.
Yeah.
But otherwise, this was a great episode to just like dive into. Simon needs to change and he needs to be himself
Hmm.
and let go.
Mm.
And I loved it. Um, Episode 7, Kathy Friedman. I gave that a 9 out of 10. I think there was just a lot of layers that were
Yeah.
finally peeled.
Kathy's the one.
Yes.
The reporter that told him, "Oh, you got arrested." Yeah. She was kind of stirring it up a little bit. She was
Yes.
pot stirring a little
Yeah.
bit. Yeah.
But the entire time, this is the first episode where he's on the Wonderman set, and you're like, everything's finally working out for Simon.
Hmm.
Like, and then it also gets
Boom.
layers peeled back where it's like Trevor was lying to you and stuff
Hmm.
like that, and there's just so much reveal. We're so happy for Simon, but then we realize there was a cost of it, and finally, and then the finale, I gave a 9 out of 10. I think this was just a perfect ending to this series. Um, I mean, overall, I just felt very invested in this character. I'm invested going forward. If I never see this character again, I'm gonna be very upset. But overall, it gave an average score of a 7.5 out of 10. Um, I have this. Um, in comparison to like other movies that we've reviewed, I have a lot of 7.5 out of 10. Um,
Yes, you do.
I have it above the Wolverine. It's actually my highest 7.5 out of 10
Okay.
that I have.
So right
So I
underneath
have it.
X-Men First Class and above the
Yes.
Wolverine. Gotcha.
So we have it at a very similar
Similar.
spots.
Yeah.
I mean, we both agree that we would rather watch X-Men First Class.
Hmm.
And if it wasn't for the Doorman episode, this is probably like an 8.5 out of 10 for
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll do the average right now. Like I have, let's see, 8.5, 7 plus 7 plus 7.5 plus 8 plus 8, 9 plus 9 divided by 7. Yeah, it's an 8 out of 10. So you take out that episode, it's an 8 out of 10. That single episode dropped it half a rating for me. It just felt so pointless. I like that character. I think the character's cool.
Yeah.
If you want to do like a Marvel, it almost felt like what's that show? The Twilight Zone. If you want to do like a Marvel Twilight Zone episode,
Yeah.
that would be like that would have been really cool.
It did feel like a. You're right. Yeah, I didn't think
Yeah,
about that, but you're right. It did
it
feel
just
like a
felt so
Twilight Zone
off.
episode. Yeah.
But I love this. I love this series. I love this character. The script for this is one of the best scripts I've seen for a Marvel project in a while. That this was a better script than Fantastic Four First Steps. Like I will go that far. Like I don't we haven't had a script like this for a Marvel project in quite some time,
Yeah.
and I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Very well done.
And I honestly, hats off to Dustin Daniel Cretton for getting this show exactly where it needs to be. Hopefully we get more seasons of this. I doubt it. I think Marvel. I don't know. I don't. So we're supposed to get Daredevil season two,
Mhm.
Daredevil Born Again season two,
Mhm.
later this year. After that, I don't know what other. There are no. Also, we're getting Vision Quest.
Mhm.
I don't know what the heck is going to even happen with that. I don't even know if it's coming out this year.
Yeah.
Like they keep saying it's coming out this year. I heard that the last 3 years
Yeah.
that Vision Quest was supposed to come out.
Yeah.
So that's supposed to end the WandaVision and Agatha whole plot line, and like that's almost a trilogy in itself. Um, so I don't know what's going to happen with that after this year. Marvel does not have any other live action series planned, and I think that's on purpose. I just don't think they're going to do anymore. And I think they'll do a soft reboot post Secret Wars. And after that, I mean, I don't know when we're going to get Wonder Man. I don't know if he's going to be a street level character, which I don't think he should be. I
Dude
want to
has
see
like,
him.
I mean, world breaker powers. I don't know if he can be
Yes,
street level, but
yes. Although I would love to see him interact with, I saw someone post today that like I would love to see him interact with Luke Cage, and I'm like, yeah, I would love. I think they would because I think they both have. Luke Cage has more of an old soul to him, and I think Simon would learn a lot from Luke Cage, as a superhero and like understanding your powers. But they're like Luke Cage. Both these characters have they have powers that they could go fight Thanos. They could go be a part of the Avengers.
yeah,
And but they want to go back to their roots, and I have a lot of respect for that. That's what I love about Spider-Man. Um, so being able, but Simon's young; he's still kind of just learning. But Luke Cage has been through a lot, and I mean, we haven't seen Luke Cage in like probably 10 years,
yeah,
in the Marvel timeline. So, I mean, I think there would be a lot that Simon could learn from interacting with Luke Cage,
yeah.
and those characters. That's why I think there is a possibility he shows that he could go to street level, but other than that, I don't want to. I want to see him in live action
Right,
movies.
right. Hey man, I love the series. It was different because I really thought the focal point would be on his powers, and it really wasn't. It was about his acting prowess. It was,
Yeah.
again, he was an actor who happened to be a superhero instead of a superhero who happened to be an actor. And I think they got it
Yes.
right. So definitely enjoyed it. We are going to take a pause for the cause here because we have to come back and do Iron Man 3, which Jordan is so excited about. Let me tell you. Oh my
Mm,
God, he is. Whoa, he can't wait. So, anyway, to everyone who
yeah.
joined us for Wonderman, thank you. Really appreciate you guys. Appreciate you being here for us. You can catch us every week at For My ATL Movies 1 on YouTube or For My ATL Movies on YouTube. Check us out. So, again, we're going to come back and do Iron Man 3. And next week we will be doing The Amazing Spider Man 2, which Jordan is just going to love. And then Captain America Winter Soldier, which may be my favorite Captain America movie. Like, love that movie. So, Jordan's not excited about one, really excited about the other. Either way, we got to come back in a few minutes and do Iron Man 3. To everybody who joined us, we appreciate you. You guys have an amazing day. And if you get a chance, check out Wonder Man on the Disney Channel. You guys have an amazing day. Thanks, everybody. Goodbye.